I'm not saying my life is better than yours, but yeah, you know, I can't think of a single reason why you'd want to come to Japan. Nah, you should go somewhere else. So before setting out on my morning jog this morning, I thought, you know what? I should make a video because it's Japan and it has things, and I should talk about those things because they're fucking awesome. And this is just one example of that. I mean, come on. Who else gets this in the morning on their run? So behind me is the magnificent Seto Inland Sea. And I'm gonna try and make this video short because in the future I plan to make dedicated videos about almost all of these things. And let's be honest, no matter how much time I spent on this, I could never do it justice because it is a huge body of water that basically separates Kyushu and the main island of Honshu, where I live now, and Shikoku, which is the 4th largest island of Japan. And it is an area unique geologically, historically. It's steeped in the history and myth of Japan, which makes it really, really cool. Biologically, it's different. There's things found here that you can't find anywhere else on Earth. And it's just so amazingly big and diverse that I could never really cover it in any detail. But this is my little corner of the Seto Inland Sea, and there's a lot of cool stuff that I can see literally from where I'm sitting right now. So I thought I'd mention a couple of things, sort of rattle them off, and give maybe a preview to future videos that I plan to do on the area. So let's get started. Site number 1. The Seto Ohashi Bridge. The Seto Ohashi Bridge was built in the 1980s, and before its construction and the construction of a couple of other bridges leading to Shikoku Island, which is that big landmass off in the distance, there was no other way to get to the islands besides ferries or planes, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. I mean, that's like, Shikoku is still part of the heartland of Japan, and you had to actually take a ferry to get there. It is one of the longest in Japan, and actually the longest 2-leveled bridge in the world, I believe. That means it has a top level where cars can drive, and then a bottom level where trains can cross. And this is the only one that accommodates trains to Shikoku from the mainland in Japan. It's fucking beautiful, as you can see. It's crazy long, and just the ride alone across it. Oh, there's a train. But the ride alone across it by train is you know, it's reason enough to pay the fare. Site number 2, the Shiwaku Islands. Nowadays, they're pretty much falling into decay, and the population is dwindling. But back during the Sengoku Jidai, during the Warring States period in, let's say, around the 1500s, these islands were ruled by pirate lords. Pirate fucking lords. How badass is that? But anyways, they were under no authority but their own, and they basically controlled trade throughout this whole channel right here between Shikoku and the main island. And they amassed such power that their fleet was known as the Shiwaku Armada. That's how many ships they had. And a cool fact, little known fact, is that Hideyoshi, for his invasions of Korea, he actually enlisted their help. He coaxed them into joining on the promise of plunder and glory over in Korea. Site number 3, Naoshima Island. Now, it's barely visible beyond those smokestacks in the distance, but Naoshima Island is a really cool touristy kind of area. Usually things like that are a little too touristy for my taste, but it's known for its art installations and its art museums. which kind of give the island a bit of like a bohemian artsy feel, which is pretty cool. People go out there and just to admire the art and enjoy the beautiful weather. But you don't have to like art to go out to the island and have a good time. My wife and I went out there a couple years ago, and we just rode bikes around and enjoyed the local beer. It's only about a 15-minute ferry ride from Uno Port, which is a really popular, fun little area as well over in Tamano City. So you should definitely check it out if you're in the area. Site number 4. The island of Shikoku, of course. Now, I know what you're saying, like, there's a lot more to Shikoku Island, the entire freaking island, than just relegating it to a part of the Seto Inland Sea. But I think it has to be mentioned because Shikoku Island is the lesser known of all the 4 main islands in Japan. And that's honestly, that's a travesty of justice, because Shikoku's freaking awesome, man. They have probably some of the best hiking in Japan. It's the most untouched and the most idyllic and wild, honestly, island out of the 4 main islands of Japan. If you haven't been there, you should really go. I did a road trip with a buddy of mine around all the main prefectures of Shikoku a couple of years ago, and it was awesome, let me tell you. There's a little bit of interesting history. I won't get too much into it, but the island of Shikoku originally was broken into 4 kingdoms, hence the name. Shikoku means 4 kingdoms in Japanese. And the 4 prefectures of the island today roughly correspond to those 4 ancient kingdoms, albeit with different names. Go out and see it. It's freaking awesome. If you love hiking, if you love exploring, if you love getting off the beaten path and avoiding tourists, it's the island for you. And site number 5, Ojigatake Hill. That big mountain behind me. Maybe you can see there's a little building on top. But anyways, not only is it a beautiful place to visit, they got really cool rock formations. There's all kinds of cool little gazebos on top and fun things to explore over there. But before Japan and Korea were mortal enemies, probably because of that whole invasion of Korea thing. Yeah. There's nothing like a little bit of rape and pillage to piss people off for thousands of years. Anyways, before those days, there was an ancient kingdom in Korea known in Japanese as Kudara, but the Korean name is different. I'll put it up on the screen. But anyways, the royal family of the Korean kingdom had kind of a dwelling here in Japan. They were here either as hostages or as guests, depending on the story you believe. But the name of that mountain, Ojigatake, refers to the 8 Korean princes that supposedly live there. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I unfortunately have to get back home and get ready for work, which sucks. But yeah, I hope that kind of whetted your appetite a little bit for some of the cool things around this area. I mean, I don't know. I've hoarded all this beauty to myself for too long, and I think it's time to share it with whoever's interested. So if you're not, no hard feelings. But I plan to make dedicated videos on a lot of these things in the future. So please stick around if you're interested in that sort of thing. And as usual, please like and subscribe if you like this content. It's of course a little hard for me, to get out and make this content regularly with work and a busy schedule and all, but I'm more than happy to do it. It would just make it a little easier if you could help support the channel a little bit. So anyways, peace.